What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today we've got some more Destiny 2 stuff to talk about. So quite a few interesting things that have come out recently that I want to discuss and round up with you guys. And it's all to do with confirmed updates and new content on the way to Destiny 2. Some of it in a few weeks from now, some of it in a few months. But we now know about things like Strike Loot and how Bungie is actually adding it, which is pretty interesting. Some Sandbox updates like Titan Skating, which is coming back. We'll also be talking about some new info on the second DLC expansion and some other miscellaneous bits of news you might have missed recently. So, as usual, lots of topics rounded up in this one video for you guys. So let's begin talking about the second DLC expansion. Some pretty interesting things that have come out, and especially from Bungie as well. As a side note, there was another one of those very typical DLC leaks. It's one of those ones where apparently an Xbox website displayed some information for like 10 seconds, and one person on Reddit magically got the only screenshot. A few of you have asked me if I think it's real. I'm not really convinced that much. It seems very made up to me, and pretty much the same as all the other fake ones, so I don't want to waste your time talking about that too much. But we do actually have some real info about DLC 2 from Bungie, and that's when to expect it. So all we've heard so far is that it comes out in spring sometime, which could be anywhere from March all the way to May, but it turns out it's launching in May, so a very, very long time away, which was confirmed by Bungie on Twitter. Now, honestly, I'm pretty concerned by this. I feel like it's way too long of a gap this game doesn't really need right now of content. We have 3 months of pretty much nothing ahead. We've got February, March, and April with just 2 quality of life updates, which we'll talk about in a second, and also Crimson Days. That's basically it for 3 months, which doesn't sound like a lot. And unless they have some kind of other secret content they're working on to bridge the gap, I think even more people are going to stop playing the game, and it's going to get very slow up until May. Now, it does definitely seem like they've delayed the expansion and pushed it back by at least a couple of weeks, if not a month or two. We don't know this for certain, and it's just my theory, but a lot of people do think that because of the response to Curse of Osiris that this DLC 2 has been pushed back. The general consensus was that it needs more time, and it wasn't really finished. Also, in the run-up to Destiny 2 launching, we pretty much heard non-stop how there'll be no content droughts, how they've solved the problem once and for all, which were direct words they actually said, and they really hyped up how often content's going to be coming out, there's going to be no droughts. I feel like a lot of those words and those quotes don't really match up with what we're looking at right now, this huge gap until May with no content and no DLCs. So from the outside, it does definitely seem like something has changed here, and obviously it isn't a proper delay because they never technically announced the date in the first place, but when you think of spring, you most of the time think of March or April. May is really the very end of it, nearly summertime. Now, there's also the question of if it's a good or bad thing that this DLC is so far away. Obviously, the downside, like I've said, is that we have to wait so long for content. A lot of people are going to simply stop playing the game and drop off, but it does have the upside that they're going to have a lot more time to develop the DLC, and hopefully it's a better piece of content. And there's no denying that Bungie will have had a lot of time to work on this, so hopefully it should be a really good expansion. I think another side concern that I've seen quite a lot is that May, of course, is the month right before E3, where there's going to be most likely announcements of the September Taken Queen expansion, or whatever they call it. So it's a bit like all this content has been kind of squashed into summer, which by then the game is going to be in a much better place after all the updates, but it means spring is going to be pretty dry for this game and definitely a very rough patch. So let me know down below in the comments what you guys think of this. Are you happy the DLC isn't coming out for such a long time, that it's going to be better, or do you think it's too late and the game needs some new content sooner? Comment down below, I'll be interested to see your thoughts. So moving on, let's talk about some more updates and changes Bungie are working on. So these are for the Sandbox, which basically means subclasses, weapons, abilities, stuff like that. And there are some pretty exciting things in here. So Bungie are calling it the Go Fast update. That's the kind of unofficial name for it. But you can definitely also look at it as the update making the game a lot more like Destiny 1 and how things used to be with movements, weapons, powers, abilities, and all that kind of stuff. So firstly, all 3 glides and also catapult and strafe lift are going to be returned and buffed to make them even more unique and faster. Now on top of that, they're also making everyone just naturally move faster when you're sprinting, running, all that kind of stuff. And also if you have max mobility on, that's going to make you even faster than it would have before. So the important words to take away there are things like return. When they say that, they mean returning it to Destiny 1, the same movement that was in that game, and also the return of how things like catapult and strafe lift could let you Titan skate and move really quickly. Now also, when you're inside the actual super of the Arc, Strider, Sentinel, or Striker, they're all going to move at much faster and the same speed as each other. The Arc Strider in particular is going to get a special buff, and it's going to have faster attack animations, faster dodge animations, and increased range of all attacks. They're also increasing how fast your supers recharge across the board for everyone, and for weapons they're going to be buffing certain archetypes, so including but not limited to hand cannons, pulse rifles, snipers, shotguns, and a few others as well, in addition to perks. They said their main goal was to make shotgun, snipers, and fusions more prevalent in the game, which I definitely agree. Like I said loads of times, snipers are just not powerful in this game. They feel worse than they were in Destiny 1 when there were free secondary weapons. Now, something else they're doing, which I think is going to be pretty important, is going to be a decrease of the respawn timer in quick play. So everyone obviously loved Mayhem, and something that was inside that was a much faster respawn time. You don't sit there and just watch the person that killed you for like 5-10 seconds. You respawn pretty quickly and you're basically back inside the action. Now, they're also making power ammo spawn a lot faster by 30% in quick play, 40% in survival, and 25% in countdown. And something else pretty big is that when you kill someone with power ammo, they're going to drop that brick for you. So it's like the early days of Destiny 1, and you can get a lot more power ammo basically. Now, they're also going to be undoing the shoulder charge nerf. You might remember they made it so that you no longer have momentum, you don't travel forward with shoulder charge. They're going to be undoing that, thankfully. I mean, shoulder charge has always been like a staple of how Titans move and how they get around, and it felt just so bad and sluggish when they removed it. So now it's going to be back where it's supposed to be. They also mentioned some pretty interesting stuff about how they want to reduce the sniper flinch and make it not flinch as much, but there's also a bug impacting it, so they can't reduce it as much as they want to. They're going to be working on trying to fix the bug and kind of get rid of it, and then they're going to also reduce the sniper flinch. That's another thing they're trying to fix, but the bug is making it a bit more difficult. So after Bungie detailed the Sandbox update, they said the next items on our agenda after these changes include the mod system rework, which we plan to use to buff ability cooldowns, and the exotic balance pass. Also going to be continuing to evaluate Destiny 2's weapon slot system and how the different types of weapons in Destiny fit into the game, how they're being played, and what we can do to improve that experience. I expect to hear more from us about that in a future update. So pretty interesting. There was obviously a lot of speculation that maybe Bungie might be putting snipers and shotguns into energy slots, but it's looking unlikely based off this. They are going to continue to look at them, but they're going to be buffing them as opposed to just moving them into the energy slot. So moving on, let's talk about when Bungie are actually planning on doing these updates and what else they have planned as well. So firstly is the February update coming on February 27th. This is going to be 1.1.3, and it's going to have some strikes and also social features in there. Now, the most noteworthy part of this patch is going to be Nightfall Strike Unique Reward. So that is what Bungie are calling basically Strike Loot from Destiny 1. It isn't going to be inside Heroic Strikes or all of them. It's going to be inside Nightfalls, which is pretty interesting. I mean, I'm pretty glad they're just announcing it, and we know for a fact that Strike Loot is coming back now. Obviously, we've had hints before, but it is nice to see some solid confirmation that it's happening soon. Now, we don't have the exact details of how it's going to work out. The biggest question is going to be if it's going to be random rolls, which was obviously the biggest draw of Destiny 1's Strike Loot. The main kind of reason to grind it was to get a different roll. The weapons by themselves were pretty good, but you're always trying to get the best set of perks to make them amazing weapons. A lot of them were some of the best guns in the game, and the armor were some of the best looking in the game. So it's definitely going to be pretty interesting to see how they implement it, but Nightfall is going to be a pretty big place of grinding the Strike Loot. Now, also inside this patch is going to be Nightfall scoring and high score tracking, which is replacing the timer. So no longer is going to be a time limit. It's going to be somehow based around score, similar to strike scoring inside the heroic strikes of Destiny 1. Something I'm actually pretty excited for is a rework of the emblem and aura system. I've always thought the auras are such a missed opportunity and have so much potential, so I'm hoping they give some kind of buff and they last longer and aren't just this kind of blue glow that lasts for the rest of the week, which is right now very disappointing. I want to see a bunch more of them and also give you buffs like the Flaming Skullwood in Destiny 1, give you actual kind of rewards and benefits and reasons to get them in the first place. Some other things inside this February update is going to be fireteam members on the map, PC text chat inside the tower, exotic repetition reduction, companion mod / shader interactions, and also companion vendor viewing. So the February update is going to be mainly for strikes and social. The March update, which is also March 27th, is going to be mainly for Crucible. It's going to have weapon and sandbox balancing, heroic strike modifiers, Iron Banner 6v6, which is pretty cool, weekly Crucible playlists that rotate including Mayhem, Crucible ammo and gameplay tuning, Nightfall challenge cards, which we don't know what that means, but sounds pretty cool, a reduction of repetition with strikes and Crucible maps, critter penalties, and also exotic weapon and armor sandbox changes, so basically buffs and nerfs to a lot of the exotics. So there's absolutely nothing planned for April apparently, unless there's some secret stuff. I'm hoping they've got something, but so far April is completely blank in terms of content updates. They do have some stuff for Season 3, which begins in May. That's going to be 1.2.0. So like I said, it's going to be a lot of stuff at once. Season 3, the new DLC, and also a bunch more updates. So the first one is going to be Eater of Worlds Prestige Mode, which I have no idea why it's taken so long, like 5 months after the DLC came out. We're finally getting the Prestige version of the first raid layer, but also the second raid layer is going to come out soon. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but the Eater of Worlds Prestige Mode is apparently very delayed. They're also doing the Crucible ranking system, private matches, a vault space increase, multi-emotes, exotic masterworks. A pretty interesting one is seasonal vendor progression, which basically means a ranking system for vendors and also seasonal, so it's going to be exclusive. Their stuff is going to rotate by the season and also give you some kind of progression and things to work for with them, which I really want. There's also going to be improvements to faction rallies, which is pretty far away, and also the mod system improvements, which seems like the mod 2.0 system has been delayed. They did say how they aimed for it to be around spring, but it may get pushed back to later, and it does seem like that's what's happened. So mod system 2.0 is quite a way away still in May. There is also, of course, the Crimson Days event, which is still happening. It hasn't been delayed or cancelled. That's happening on February 13th. We got quite a bit of info about it a couple weeks back when Bungie kind of detailed what to expect and why it's going to be different to the Dawning. That's kind of a rough outline of what to expect in February, March, and also May. Again, I'm really confused why nothing's happening in April. I'm hoping it's not blank, but that could be because they're planning on doing a bunch of DLC 2 reveal streams throughout that month of April. That's pretty much the only reason I can think of why there's nothing scheduled for it. So there you go, a roundup of everything happening for Destiny 2 recently. As always, if you enjoyed the video and want to help support the channel, then like ratings down below are always much appreciated. Of course, make sure you are subscribed if you aren't already so you don't miss out on my future uploads and all the latest things happening for the game. Until then, you can click the image on screen right now to watch a recent Destiny 2 video I just made. So I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.